Hello, everyone. My name is David Cerna, and I'm so pleased to have this impact session with Dr. Kenneth Cooper of Causes. This is called Integrating LinkedIn Learning and Student Learning Outcomes. And let me go ahead and just give you a brief bio of Dr. Cooper. Dr. Kenneth J. Cooper is a thought leader in underrepresented student recruitment, academic advising, and student success. As a student recruitment academic advising specialist and adjunct professor, he aims to produce optimal student outcomes. He also works with academic leaders and university stakeholders to identify strategies for increasing student enrollment and retention. Cooper believes that students should remain at the forefront of our decisions as we tend to be change agents in their lives. So thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. Before we begin, I just want to go over some of the tools with this Zoom webinar. So you may notice that the Zoom webinar is different than a regular Zoom workshop. Let's go over some of the tools here on your toolbar. Number one, you'll see that chat icon. Please feel free to chat with the group. You'll see two, you want to choose to everyone, so everyone can go ahead and see that. If you do have a question and you'd like to speak up, just click on that raise hand icon that gives us a little notice, and we can go ahead and unmute you. Last but not least, there is a Q&A function. If you click on the Q&A, you will be able to submit a question right here, and we will answer these at the very end of our webinar today. So with that, I do want to hand it over to Dr. Cooper, and thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much, David. Guys, it is certainly a pleasure to be here today as a student recruitment / academic advising specialist for the College of Agriculture, Urban Sustainability, and Environmental Sciences. We do a lot of work, right, with student learning outcomes and different goals that we essentially are trying to reach. But what's new, what's sort of hot, fresh, and innovative today is LinkedIn Learning. And so when I was asked to, present this piece to you, I was very, very excited because LinkedIn Learning is providing a lot of utility for faculty, for staff, and just for integrating our students with certain concept tools and skills that they'll need for the future. So without further ado, I think I'll go right into my presentation now and start with sharing my PowerPoint. So just bear with me. Okay, perfect. And so as part of this impact series, today we're talking about integrating LinkedIn learning and student learning outcomes. And again, my name is Kenneth Cooper, and I am with Causes. So the table of content. So some of the things that we'll be going over this morning, or rather, probably afternoon really at this point, is what is LinkedIn Learning, right? What is this new sort of platform that everyone's talking about that's generating a lot of buzz in a lot of different industries? And we'll also talk about what are student learning outcomes for individuals who may not necessarily be aware of what those are. From there, we'll also talk about how does LinkedIn Learning relate to student learning outcomes, right? So I know the two may seemingly they may not seem to be connected to one another, but there are a lot of institutions actually that are using them rather seamlessly, right? And so we want to make sure that you're aware of those pieces.
And Dr. Cooper, okay, we can see it now.
Okay, you can see it now?
Yes, okay, perfect, thank you.
Okay, perfect, sorry about that, guys. And also as well, we're going to talk about why should you care about this, right? Why would this topic behoove you, or how could you use it in your classroom, with developing your student learning outcomes, with integrating your students with LinkedIn, and why those pieces are important. And then from there, we'll talk about what are the tangible outcomes that we hope to gain, or that can be gained from that. And there's actually several. We'll go over those in explicit detail. And then finally, we'll kind of finish up the piece with a quick tutorial where we'll watch a short video on how to use LinkedIn Learning, and I'll log into my personal account and kind of show you what's new and cool on it. And then finally, we'll have a Q&A for any questions or concerns, so forth, that you may have. So yeah, let's get started. And please feel free to stop me at any time if you have any questions or concerns. So did you know, as it relates to LinkedIn, that 90,000 plus schools are currently using it, right? And did you also know that 58% of QS top global universities are using LinkedIn Learning, right? So these institutions include MIT, they include Harvard, they include Yale, they include Penn, as well as other HBCUs as well too as Howard University, Morgan, Florida A&M, so forth. And also as well, we have 10 million plus students that now have access to LinkedIn Learning, right? Which this is significant, right? Because here is this platform that's accelerating in popularity, right? And so many students using it, it behooves us, right, as educators, as administrators, to sort of know what this is and how we can sort of galvanize that to create these student learning outcomes and goals that we desire to achieve. So what is LinkedIn Learning? So before I get too deep into my piece, I actually want you guys to watch this video real quick. And then from there, I'll do just a quick follow-up. So bear with me. And it should load here. I'm sorry about that. Let me stop sharing and then let me share this portion of my screen. Here we go.
Dr. Cooper, there might be a little bit delay, but we don't see anything on the screen yet.
Are you not seeing anything on the screen? So let's see.
Okay, I think I see it now. I just saw it that second.
Okay, and then let me pick up my share again here.
It just might be Zoom being temperamental today, of course.
I see. And can you see the screen now?
Not yet.
Okay, so
okay, now I can see it.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And it's all black screen?
No, so I see the LinkedIn Learning.
Okay.
The video. Okay, let's see.
Okay, can you see it now?
Not yet. Please let us know in the chat box if you can see it as well.
Yeah.
I think it's starting to play.
Okay. So it may be delayed. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me see here.
And when you share, is the sound box checked? I don't hear anything yet.
Let's see here. It is yeah. Also, yeah. So the audio is sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just might be a delay with Zoom.
Okay. And then let me just try this really quickly, and if it doesn't show up, I'll just go into this description.
Yeah, and you can also share the link if it doesn't work in the chat box, and then we can review it after.
Perfect. All right.
Thank you, Dr. Cooper.
Sure, no problem. Let me just copy and paste this link for you guys. Here, I'm sorry. Okay. So I'll copy and paste it in the group probably after the presentation because I don't want to stop the flow of it. But 1 second. So you know what? So since I'm not going to have those links there, I'll just I'll just go with sharing it. So 1 second. So am I back to my original screen?
So right now I see the Google screen, your web browser, and then you.
Okay. C.A.L. Okay. And can you see the presentation now?
Yes. Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. So sorry about that, team. I wish I got away from those links. But long story short, so what is LinkedIn Learning, right? So LinkedIn Learning is an online video training library that provides you with the opportunity to bridge the gap between the career you want and the skills you need. You learn online at your own pace with a library of more than 16,000 creative, 16,000 creative business and technological courses, and more than 200,000 videos on topics ranging from accounting to UX design. All courses are taught by expert instructors and come with fully searchable transcripts and certificates of completion that you can add to your LinkedIn profile, right? So essentially what LinkedIn Learning is doing is allowing students to take courses asynchronously, right? So that they can develop, certain competencies, have certain certifications, and so forth, right? Because professional development has become very, very important, right, towards students, and also supplementary material as well that you can use for your classes, right? Which I'm going to get into a bit later on. But with this huge, huge library of videos ranging to so many different topics, right? And videos that are constantly being created each and every day, that represents an important intersection, right? Of course, is that you may have that may potentially come into your field that students can certainly take advantage of. And it also supplements the material that you can offer in your class. So LinkedIn Learning is very, very powerful. So what are student learning outcomes, right? So student learning outcomes are measurable and verifiable knowledge, skills, abilities, and or attitudes that students have at the completion of a course, program, or service. Now, since we went over what student learning outcomes are, does anybody that's on the call right now have any student learning outcomes they would like to share with us? And I say that because I would like to integrate this into the piece moving forward. So let's look at this chat.
I have one, Dr. Cooper.
Sure.
This is Dwayne. The student shall demonstrate an understanding of sustainability and resilience, for example.
Okay. Okay, that's a good one. Sustainability. Okay, great. So right. Okay, so actually, Dr. Jones, that is a great one, right? So on this next slide, we're going to talk about how that may help. Okay, so how does LinkedIn Learning relate to student outcomes, or in Dr. Jones's case, his student outcome, right? And I put a picture here of Lawrence Fishburne from the movie Higher Learning, because he kind of gave me, great sense of student learning outcomes when you kind of watch the movie and go through it. It's a good piece. But nevertheless, it says that LinkedIn Learning is the next exciting frontier in helping you achieve your student learning outcomes. The platform expands your curriculum for a richer learning experience in an asynchronous format. Students may achieve your student learning outcomes faster through the curation of content that supplements your material, right? And I think that's very important because oftentimes as academics and as staffs, right, we have a finite amount of time, right? We have a finite amount of time that we can spend with students, right? Going over material. Many of us are doing research, community service, so forth, right? So what this LinkedIn Learning does is it allows us to ultimately expand our student learning outcomes, right? It allows us to add on, different pieces and components as it pertains to those things. I was just talking with an individual in the business school today, and they actually, that professor absolutely loves using it with their student learning outcomes because they're essentially taking courses on LinkedIn Learning, and they're embedding it into the curriculum that they currently have now, right? Which is awesome, right? Because, students learn different ways, right? Particularly with this new generation of students, I believe it's Generation X and some millennials, where shorter content, right? Shorter curated content that they can access at any time is extremely, extremely important, right? And I'm sure many of us know that are in and outside of the classroom that we create student learning outcomes, but sometimes we may not necessarily achieve them, right? Based on whether it be, time or a lot of different, circumstances that may be out there. But what's important is that we have supplementary material for students, right? Because it really, really opens up the breadth of what we can do as educators. So why should you care? And also, guys, I'm still alluding to Higher Learning because I really, really love this movie. But in this picture is actually Malik, right? And so Malik, he's having a very, very difficult time in Professor Phillips' class. He doesn't get the material. He's not really, obviously he's not meeting any of the student learning outcomes that Phillips has for him, right? And so he's very, very angry and disgruntled about that experience, right? But imagine if Phillips, right, could enhance his curriculum, right, and enrich it, right? Imagine if during that time, Professor Phillips, he was able to curate content to help bloggers, SLOs, right? And also imagine if he was able to outsource a lecture and allow more classroom time for discussion and practice, right? And I think that kind of goes without saying, we're constantly looking for more time, right? We're constantly looking for more practices in the classroom to be able to show students sort of the hands-on application of the material that we're talking about. Why? Because we want it to come alive, right? And also, in terms of curriculum enrichment, right, it introduces the student to world-class collaborative content produced by industry leaders. So for example, right now, I'm teaching a course in Black politics. And while I obviously know a lot about that topic, there are a lot of my peers and colleagues that are putting content on LinkedIn Learning that, I may not necessarily be privy to or may not immediately know, right? And so I want to give my students the opportunity, right, to really learn that information and learn it in a way that's accessible and convenient for them. Yeah. And then also as well, like I said before, 60 plus courses are added every week to the course library. So the database is constantly being updated with new material, right? Each and every semester that you can incorporate into what you're doing. So now some of you guys, I know you may have said, so you're seeing all this stuff, about student learning outcomes, about, LinkedIn Learning. Are there any examples? Well, yes, there actually are quite a few examples, but one I will use it as an example with King's College, right? So with King's College, it encourages undergraduates to actually create a LinkedIn profile right away, right? So as soon as they're coming into campus and getting enrolled for their classes, when they meet with career services and they meet with their professors, they're encouraged to make this, right? And then from there, they're taking curated courses that are enhancing those educational skills, right? So KC pretty much has content that's spread over 3 years, which each year it covers the following, right? And even though this is how KC does it, sort of using this example to show you how you maybe can cover it, right, in your course or in your curriculum if you're a chair or a program director, right? So for example, in year one, they have content focused on ramped up reading, better note taking, revision skills, and how to build resilience and cope with pressures and setbacks. I think this is kind of important, particularly when we're looking at demographics of underrepresented students who may not necessarily come into the institution with those skills, right? So for example, student comes into the university, we send the student to the writing center, right? We send we connect student with tutoring, with math, science, and all of those other pieces as well too. But what these classes really, really do is kind of help, supplement that material, right? And to some extent, kind of offset some of those functions by allowing it to be there, right? Because I think the assumption is that students are sometimes coming into our institution with these skills. And so we shouldn't always be quick to make those assumptions, right? So what these courses do is allow students to sort of attack these skills, right, before, during, and after, right, that they're in our institution. Moving on. So year two, they actually have content, recommended content evolved to cover grammar, editing, proofreading, and software like EndNote. I guess probably the best example is that with this is a class that I'm currently teaching right now, Introduction to Social Science. And in this class, some of the students are having trouble with these items, right? And it's a bit unfortunate because, some of these students are upper class students, right? But imagine if we had content that we could push out to students, well before they even reach year 3, year 4. Well, KC is actually doing it in year 2, right? They're attacking those deficiencies right in year 1 and year 2. And so finally, when we look at KC, looking at year 3, the courses focus on both on time and project management, career building via content on job hunting, giving elevator pitches, turning internships into permanent jobs. So even though KC is offering these courses, which undoubtedly will help you in your student learning outcomes, right? Because you're helping students become what? Better writers. You're helping them improve their grammar, right? You're helping them learn certain skills that are going to undoubtedly help you achieve your aims. But in that, you're giving them a skill set to build, right? To sort of go beyond your class, right? To matriculate throughout the curriculum, right? And, fortunately, receive a job and compensation that is compatible with the amount of work that they have produced over the last 4 years, right? So it's really, really important, some of these pieces. And I thought King's College really provided a great sort of seamless example. But in terms of, your various departments, you can structure these systems as well, right? With curated content, um, just with different classes for each year or even each semester, right? That students should focus on or students may need to know. Because technology is moving so fast and there's so many different things going on in our society right now. We want to make sure that our students, particularly the ones at UDC, come equipped with a very complete and robust skill set. So what are the tangible outcomes, right? So what are we tangibly going to get from this, right? Well, you guys look to the right there, we have UDC there. So pretty much, with LinkedIn Learning and student learning outcomes, we want to help meet your student learning outcomes and track student results, right? Because a portion of student learning outcomes is, being able to, assess the student and also being able to provide or hit rather certain goals or metrics, right? So with these courses allow you to do that, right? Because the courses have assessments built into them. And it also helps pique students' interest in continuing with your student learning outcomes after your class, right? Imagine if we had a world where even after you've taught the class, students are still interested and engaged in the material that you have set forth from them. In terms of, maybe urban sustainability, maybe looking at, resilience-based factors or looking at a certain body of information that you want them to know at a certain proficiency level. Well, this is what LinkedIn Learning does, right? It allows the continuation, right, of knowledge, right? And not only knowledge, right, but just to allow students to perpetually, right, sort of exist within that system. And another tangible outcome as well, too, is it makes students familiar with the platform that all Fortune 500 companies use for hiring, right? Which is extremely, extremely important because, while we do have certain academic outcomes, right, we also want to be able to make sure that our students get employed, right, that they're being noticed by the top industries, right, in their respective fields or endeavors that they choose to go into, which ultimately, may help them get employed. And so lastly, in terms of the tangible outcomes, it really helps you see where your graduates are getting hired and the skill gaps among current students, right? Which is critical towards developing your SLOs, right? So I know about 2 years ago, I was working in, student success, working very closely with career services. And, that was one of the concerns that they had, was what was happening to our students after they left the University of the District of Columbia? What concrete, tangible skills had they have? How did the student learning outcomes help the student achieve the ultimate goals that they were trying to achieve at UDC? Because all of these things are intimately interconnected with one another, right? And so one thing I really love about LinkedIn Learning and the courses that it offers, right, is that it really allows students to shore up those gaps that they have, right? And it really helps those students get noticed, right? Which I think ultimately helps us all in our student learning outcomes. And so are there any perks of LinkedIn Learning for you, right? And I'm talking about you as specifically as the administrator or the educator. Well, yes, there is a bevy of perks for you, right? The first and most important perk is that it allows you to stay current with the latest skills, topics, and professional development in your field, right? I kind of alluded to that piece earlier, so I won't really go too much in depth with it, but why that's important is because it helps you develop the necessary skills of education that are rapidly evolving, right? Sorry for that typo there, right? Again, we know that everyone's field is rapidly evolving. Stuff is constantly changing. Information is being disseminated at such a rapid level. We want to make sure that we stay at the forefront, right? And for example, when you look at many software learning management systems, they simply did not even exist 5 years ago. Or I mean, even if the ones that did exist, they didn't exist within the same capacity. Case in point, we think about centralized application services. You think about EAB Navigate, that's out. That certainly did not look the same. Blackboard Collaborate, right? Or Blackboard period that we've been using as educators and administrators. That certainly did not look the same. Or rather, it does not look the same as how it looked 5 years ago, right? And so that's sort of the beauty of LinkedIn Learning, is that we're constantly refining those skills. And it also helps you leverage LinkedIn insights to inform your focus. So this pretty much means, it allows you to understand what new programs you should create, right? What are the key skills that students need now, right? And so LinkedIn Learning allows you to use those insights to prioritize what you want to inform students about, essentially, right? Because with that curated content, you're able to see all the things that are new, that are sort of hot in your respective field, right? And see the information that students are really going towards, clicking on a lot, right? And you can really build student learning outcomes based on that to some extent. And also another perk as well too is that it helps promote social learning to increase collaboration. So courses on LinkedIn Learning also feature learning groups. So students can learn from each other and experts to fully absorb concepts, right? And that kind of goes without saying, higher education now is, and what's been for some time, but it's really, really starting to focus on collaborative learning, right? Students being able to engage with, among themselves, among other university stakeholders, to really, really be able to understand the knowledge and concepts that they need to help them in their fields, right? Because I think it kind of goes without saying, while you do have individuals who learn obviously very well individually, right? It's something about being in those groups that creates, unique information, perspectives, thoughts, ideas, etc., that students can really gravitate towards, and it can really help contextualize the material and almost kind of authenticate that material to them, right? Also, it helps chairs, program directors, deans, etc., continue with faculty and staff professional development at a relatively cost-effective point. I'm sure many of you guys come from programs or are part of certain departments and so forth, where the budget may not be infinite, right? And so we want to still be able to provide individuals with professional development, particularly you, right, in the absence of that. My colleague, Drew Carson, had a conversation with him the other day at Causes, and Drew has taken over 100 LinkedIn Learning courses, right? He has several certifications, several badges as well, too. And when I spoke with Drew, he said one of the reasons why he does this is because not only does he want to remain fresh and relevant in his field, but, a lot of the work we do nowadays is interdisciplinary, right? So there are other skills that we may need to learn. Python, right? Or QuickBooks, right? Or, have a better understanding of Excel, right? Or different programs. Because, a lot of the work, like I said, again, that we're doing is interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and we need to be aware of what's even going on in other fields to expand our focus, make better student learning outcomes, and ultimately create a better end product for our students. And also, LinkedIn Learning helps you increase the graduate employment rate, which is a selling point for your program, right? I deal a lot with enrollment, with retention, student success, so forth, right? And so when you're achieving your student learning outcomes effectively, you're helping to produce students that are going to graduate, be successful, which there in turn creates, or rather it shows students, right, that you have a successful product. That students should come to your program because you are the thought leader, right? You are the industry expert. You are the entity, right, where the original source of information is coming from. And finally, it allows you to stay connected with students without graduation. It allows you to stay connected with students after graduation, right? Which is important, right, for helping students build up their network, which is extremely important for underrepresented students at HBCUs who often do not have the level of networks as some of our students at PWIs and so forth. So we really, really want to create not only a student learning outcome, right? Not only a classroom experience, but we want to create ongoing relationships and partnerships with the individuals that come in and out of our classrooms and whose lives that we ultimately end up impacting. So in terms of this, I was going to actually go, click on this link and show you guys a quick video. But I think because we're kind of having some video technical difficulties, I think I'm just going to move directly into the live session so that you guys can actually see LinkedIn Learning in real time. So just bear with me 1 minute while I stop my share and then share my other screen. So let's see, where is it? Right. Oh, is it that one? No, it's not that one, sorry. Okay, perfect. All right. So that's me to the left. I know I had more hair at that point in time. I know I had a lot more hair at that point in time in that picture. So this is my LinkedIn profile. Okay. And so and you guys can log on to as well if you would like. But once you log on to LinkedIn, if you scroll all the way up here to the top right and click this button where it says Learn, this button will essentially bring you to LinkedIn Learning, right? Sorry, let me exit out of all this stuff. So we have a clear view here. Okay, there we go, good. All right, so looking at this LinkedIn Learning page, right? There are a host of skill subjects and softwares that you could search for, right? Let's say you're, teaching a class, maybe about coding, web-based courses. Let's see, let's type in Python, right? Or programming language, right? Computer science-based stuff. LinkedIn Learning can actually bring up classes, right? And some of the classes are as short as 15 minutes. Some of the classes could be, you guys are seeing here at the top, right? Could be as long as 2 hours and almost 30 minutes, right? But let's just take a dive and let's just click on advance your skills in Python, for example. Oh, and here at the bottom, you can also see how many individuals have took the class. So around a little over 180,000 people. So when we click here, it gives you just a detailed synopsis of what the class is, what you'll be learning, what you'll create, and how you'll apply that knowledge. And it also, lets you start the learning path, and it shows you the different pieces there. So let's see.
Hi, I'm Jolie, and welcome to Design Panels. In this course, we will be 15 assessments. So, for example, let's start by
Okay. So this pretty much kind of gives you an example for anyone who's been on LinkedIn Learning and you've taken some of the classes, kind of gives you a very, very similar feel to almost like YouTube, but with assessment-based components added onto it. So for example, if you look to the left-hand panel of the screen right here, you'll see the itinerary there where it welcomes you and it tells you for each section that it's going to talk about. But as you start, learning each of these sections as it pertains to the material, right here, you'll notice that there will be assessments, right? So for example, it's a chapter quiz right here that consists of 9 questions. And so when you click on that section, you can actually start the quiz here and the prompt will take you all the way through and you can answer. Once you complete this whole piece and take each individual quiz, At the end, you'll be issued, your certification for the course, stating that you completed the course, and that you do have that proficiency, right? And so that's one cool thing. So let me just go back to LinkedIn Learning really quick. In addition to that, as well too, you can set weekly goals for yourself, right? Some individuals, set about 30 minutes. Some people have an hour. I think Drew has about a couple hours actually. But this is the amount of time that you want to do professional development here. And you can edit that goal there. In terms of in progress saving from your org, it shows what courses, again, that you're currently taking, which ones that you've had saved, and which ones that your organization, from the one that you're at, UDC, for example. And then when we scroll down here, it has some of the top picks for courses. I often tell people sometimes, that it's really nice just to go to top picks, and kind of look at it, because sometimes it sort of retrains and retools you to sort of think about, maybe how you're going to approach a course, or how you're going to set up certain student learning outcomes, kind of based on maybe individual pieces that you may want to work on for yourself. And lastly, let's just bring this one up, for example, because I think this actually would be a good example. Because I was speaking with some individuals in graphic design, and they really, really were receptive to LinkedIn Learning to develop student learning outcomes. Yeah. So for example, currently right now we have professors in graphic design who they're looking at using LinkedIn Learning to develop their slows. Because LinkedIn Learning has several courses as it pertains to photography, right? Which is a critical class that they teach in their curriculum. If you guys see here, it's actually several courses where it shows students how to take pictures, wide angle lenses, with waterfalls, with autumns. And so they're trying to now build those pieces into what they're doing. And you can sort the courses, as well by, content, type, level, time to complete, software. But a lot of the classes that they're giving their students are between 15 minutes and an hour. Okay, so let me stop the share. So yeah, so we could go into a lot more detail with LinkedIn Learning, but that is, I feel like, overall a very, very good synopsis of, the platform, what it has to offer, and why, you would use it for student learning outcomes, or the development of your student learning outcomes. And let me just share my PowerPoint presentation again here. Okay. So again, guys, so thank you so much for coming. And yeah, so do you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. So remember, you can use the raise hand icon on your toolbar if you'd like to ask a question and speak. But there are some questions in the Q&A. So first one, Dr. Cooper, how do students access LinkedIn Learning?
Yeah, sure. So whenever students log on and they go to LinkedIn Learning, the prompt, when they click on the button, they can actually insert their UDC information there. So that's actually a really good question.
Excellent.
So
thank you.
It says, can students receive certificates after completing a LinkedIn course? Yes, they can. Yes, that's actually a really good question. Yes, they can. That's really the kind of the point of it, right? For them sort of to receive those certifications and kind of show those credentials, right, to maybe employers or different individuals who may be looking at their skill set for a host of different reasons. Yeah, actually, I had one student. He told me he recently had an interview, and one of the reasons why he got the internship was because he had all these certifications, and they really liked how it related to his major, which was in business, right? But how he got there was that his professor was really, really encouraging him to do that as a part of their slows, right? So it was a really cool piece. Yeah.
Yeah, LinkedIn Learning, since it is available to the UDC community as well, right, for free, that's a really great perk, and also so good to add for their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. It is awesome. It is awesome. Let's
Great.
see. So it says, what are some skill sets that LinkedIn Learning can support for our UDC community? So that honestly is a great question, right? So it currently really supports a host of skill sets, but some of the ones that I think that may be pertinent for our student population is probably, again, the courses on writing, right? The course is based on sort of, basic math skills, algebra being a course that a certain portion of our students have trouble dealing with. So it has tutorials, different classes on how to deal with that information as well. I know students, business students in particular, ones that focus on marketing, have a lot of good course content there just to kind of support them, and sort of their journey and what they're going through. And also as well, like I just gave the example of graphic design students, right? Particularly those that are on the photography track, right? It has a lot of great content there. And actually the professor even told me he's thinking about even producing one for LinkedIn so he can add his own content to it. So he can link it with his slides as well. So yeah, so it's really good. That's actually a really good question though.
Excellent, thank you. Next question is from Dr. Brown. How have you used LinkedIn Learning to evaluate SLOs and causes academic programs?
That is a good question, Dr. Brown. That's actually a very, very good question. So let's see, let me think about that. How do we use LinkedIn Learning outcome to evaluate student outcome causes? Oh, I would say that initiative is ongoing, right? As we just recently had training from Ms. Loca on LinkedIn Learning, but I do anticipate that will become a part of the fabric of causes and what we're doing. And I would imagine that, with our college really adopting, that information and that platform, that it will become much more integrated in the future. Yeah. So I guess I'm kind of answering your question without answering it, but good question though, Dr. Brown.
Have you seen faculty and causes integrated in Blackboard for their courses?
Yeah, as of now, no, I have not personally seen it, but that does not mean it doesn't exist. Yeah. Because causes, we have so many, different programs in there. And I can't really speak for who's using it and who's not using it yet, but I would imagine we'll be using it relatively soon. See what Dr. Brown says. So this is especially important for programs that have their own accrediting bodies. Yes, Dr. Brown, extremely important. Right, for nursing, right? I believe Dr. Broadnex and Dr. somewhere on this call will be extremely important for that piece. Nutrition and architecture as well. Yes, so actually with architecture, they have a lot of content for architecture. And to be honest, I feel like LinkedIn Learning has really a lot of content really for STEM, for architecture, like some of those fields like that. There's a lot of content that I've noticed more so than some of the social sciences, right? But I know in our college, particularly in causes, and just as Ms. Loca's presentation as well, there's so many great ways we can use it. But I honestly could see it being used in CAS. CSIS is obviously prime location where I would imagine LinkedIn Learning could be used. The business school. So I mean, it's just so many points where on this campus where we really can use it and sort of integrate students into it early, as King College was doing, because students need to be exposed to this early. So you guys, you know what? You guys are actually motivating me today, because I think I'm going to take this presentation on the road after this, and I think I might just start presenting it all around campus. So thank you guys for being my test run today.
Dr. Cooper, this was wonderful. I've taken some LinkedIn Learning courses on procrastination. I'm not a morning person, so also about that. So are there any courses that you've taken that you've really enjoyed personally?
Yes. There are some courses that I feel like that I've taken. I feel like the courses that I really have learned a lot about are the ones on diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? I think that kind of goes without saying. I think sometimes we don't know what privileges we may have based on either our gender, sex, religion, so forth. And so I think having an opportunity to really focus on those pieces has allowed me to be not only a better professor, but a better administrator towards my colleagues, and be able to look at things from such a unique lens. So those have been the pieces that I really been focusing on right now as it pertains to that. Oh, and also justice as well too. So and I know that's really important. We're dealing with underrepresented students and developing SLOs. So I actually have a plan actually for the spring that I'm trying to incorporate with LinkedIn Learning as well with my SLOs. So and I think a portion of that, right, is really going to involve those pieces as it pertains to inclusion. yeah, so it's been really nice.
Definitely. Dr. Cooper, any final thoughts before we conclude our session today that
Yes,
you'd like to
David.
share? Mhm.
Yes, David, thank you. So
Yeah.
for anybody that is on the call right now, please do not be scared of LinkedIn Learning. I promise you, once you log on, right, once you get set up, it is super easy and super intuitive to use. And like my colleague, Dr. Drew Carson, you'll probably find yourself taking, 10s, 20s, 30s, well, in Drew's case, hundreds of courses, right? Because again, as professionals, we should be constantly looking to develop our skill set, right? And we should constantly be looking at new information and new ways to do things, right? Because if we're producing the same syllabi, every semester, we're doing a disservice to our students. So I really implore my colleagues that's on the call today to check out LinkedIn Learning, you know, check out all of the great work that C.A.L is doing as well too, and use those things really to integrate it in the fabric of UDC's culture that we have going on here. So I love the work that C.A.L is doing with all of these pieces as well. So we have a lot of good support services here. Use them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cooper. This has been wonderful. For everyone here, I would also like to remind you that we have another impact session tomorrow. I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat box right there. So this is with CES. It's called Web-Based Assessment and Comprehensive Methodology of Continuous Improvement. That will be tomorrow, Friday, from 12 to 1 at the same time. And the presenters will be Dr. Dong Zhong and Dr. Ludwig Nietzsche. So you can go ahead and attend that. We'd love to have you there. But Dr. Cooper, it has been wonderful to have this session with you on behalf of C.A.L. I thank you so much. I've learned a lot, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much, David, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.